Hi guys, welcome back. We are talking today about lesson 77, the third edition of Saxon Algebra 1/2, like this. We are talking about percents that are greater than 100. If you're following along at home I'm on page 243. Now, the way the book explains it, not my favorite way. What I like to explain instead is over of equals percent over 100. This is one of my favorite formulas because we have a proportion here. Remember, a proportion is made up of two ratios. Remember, ratios are fractions. So, let me pause this. Okay, guys, so the way that we're gonna set this up, the other one of this that you can use is part over whole. This is more for word problems, equals percent over 100. So this is more for word problems. So what we do is when we see one of these percent problems, we do a setup. And that is our setup right there. We know that the percent goes above the 100, so we're gonna do 210. And then we know that of 50 goes in the denominator here, so we're gonna put it right here. And the word what means X. So is X, is goes in the top part here, so we're gonna put an X here. Make life easier for yourself, lob those zeros off, and now we're gonna cross multiply. This times this equals this times this. So we have 10x equals 21 times 50. That gives us 1050, 1050. Divide both sides by 10, divide by 10, lob your zeros off, x equals 105. So 210% of 50 is 105. Now, what percent of 40 is 60? Percent problem, we're gonna do our percent setup. Looks like this. The word what means X. So X percent, well, we know our percent goes above 100, so X. Of 40, look back up here, of goes in the bottom, is 60, is goes in the top, so we're gonna do 60 here. Make it life easier, lob off your zeros. You can also reduce it if you wanted to, but I think just lobbing off your zeros is half the battle. So this times this equals this times this. The way we're gonna write that is 40x equals 6 times 100, which gives me 600. Now, divide both sides by 40, divide by 40. This cancels out, so I get x by itself. Lob your zeros off, and let's reduce that fraction, 60 over 40. Well, that is really 30 over 2, and then that is 15 over 1. Now, of is over of. Hold on, I'm pausing because so it was 4x, not 40x. Do you see I crossed that out? My bad, guys, my bad. Let's try that again. 1 0 just made a tiny error there. So let's try that again. Sorry, guys. So if you cross out the 0 on the 60, you have to cross out the 0 on the 4, and I just didn't pay attention. So 4x, so this is 4x equals 6 times 100, which is 600. Divide this by 4, divide this by 4, reduce that. This is 300 over 2. Reduce that again, I get 150 over 1. So what percent of 40 is 60? X equals 100, whoop, I can't even circle right, 150%, 150%. Okay, now let's look at this guy right here. It's another percent problem, so we're gonna do our setup. And there's our setup. Remember, it is over of equals percent over 100. So we'll look at this first one, 150%. I like the percent because it's easy, it goes above your 100. So 150 of what means X, so of, it's gonna go on the bottom, is 300, is goes on the top, so we're gonna do 300 here. Lob those zeros off. So what we have now is this times this gives me 15x equals 300 times 10, which gives me 3,000. Divide by 15, divide by 15. X equals 200. 200, just making sure I didn't, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm second guessing myself now. So 150% of what number is 300 of 200? All right, guys. The we got some word problems here. So here's our first one. Jane is mad because today's crullers cost 120% of what they did 2 years ago. What does that, does a cruller cost, what does a cruller that was 60 cents 2 years ago cost today? So let me just make sure I've read that. Okay, so let's just do our setup. That's the first thing we do. 100. All right, so now we've got, it's 120% of what they did 2 years ago. So this is now, and this is 2 years ago. This is important, okay? 2 years ago. What does a cruller, I don't even know what those are, that was 60 cents 2 years ago cost today? Well, this is the now, this is 2 years ago. So the 60 cents is gonna go right here. Remember 60 cents as a dollar though is 0.60, okay? So, and now that doesn't actually matter because we'll just keep everything in terms of cents. So we're gonna throw an X here. We get lob off your zeros, right? So 10X equals 60 times 12, 720, okay, 720, divide by 10, X equals 72. So we come back up here, and remember this is in terms of cents, so it's really important that you use your units. So X equals 72 cents. So it is 72 cents now than it was 2 years ago. All right, practice problems are right here. Go ahead and pause the video, do them, and then come on back. All right, we've got our setup here. We're gonna do a setup right here. Beautiful. 300%, well, that goes over our percent spot. Remember, it is over of equals percent over 100. Oh, it'd help if it was on the screen, wouldn't it? Okay, so is over of equals percent over 100. 300%, that goes above our 100. Lob off 2 zeros, right? Bam, bam, that's nice. Of 45, of goes on the bottom, so we're gonna put 45 here. Is what means X, so we're gonna put our what in our is spot. So let's do this. We got 1 times X is X equals 45 times 3. 45 times 3. 135. 135 is our answer. All right, this one right here, 140%, that goes above our 100. Lob those zeros off. Of what means X, and of is on the bottom, so we're gonna put an X there. Is 364, is goes on top there. 364. So we are going to get, I'll put this over here, cross multiply. This times this equals this times this. 14X equals 3,640. Divide both sides by 14. Cancel out, cancel out. Divide by 14. We've got 3,640 divided by 14 gives me 260. So X equals 260. All right, last one is this guy right here. The local art supply store sold 20 boxes of crayons last year. This year they sold 80 boxes. This year's sales are what percent of last year's sales? Okay, guys, so this year, so we're gonna do our setup because it is a percent problem. So we're gonna throw our 100 right here. What we're looking for is what percent of last year's sales. So we're gonna put an X here. What percent of last year's sales? So this is last year's sales. Last year's sales, right? So let's go back and look at our actual numbers. 20 boxes of crayons last year. That goes here, which means this year they sold 80 boxes. That goes here. So this is gonna be our this year. Lob off your zeros there. This year, help if I finish my thoughts there. Lob off your zeros there, and we're gonna cross multiply. 2X equals 800. This times this. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X equals 400. And remember, we are searching for what percent of last year's sales? It's 400% of last year's sales. And that's because 20 of those boxes would be 100%, and then another 20 would be 100%, another 20, so it's 400%. All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, great work, and I will see you in class. Thank you so much.